When we think of the underworld, our minds usually jump to fire, pitchforks, eternal punishment, that kind of thing. But what if there was a version that wasn't about evil at all, but about something, well, something far more relatable and inevitable? Okay, let's dive into the Norse realm of Hel, not as a place of damnation, but as this incredibly deep allegory for the one fate that, let's face it, awaits most of us.
So, in the Norse world, it all came down to how you died. If you went out in a blaze of glory on the battlefield, the Valkyries might just scoop you up and take you to Odin's great hall, Valhalla. An eternity of feasting and fighting? Sounds pretty good, right? But what about everyone else? The vast, vast majority who died from sickness or an accident or just plain old age? Well, their path led somewhere entirely different.
And they had a name for it, the straw death. It probably came from the straw-stuffed mattresses where most people would have passed away. It was a quiet end, an unglamorous end. And that's the journey we're going to follow today, by looking at the incredibly powerful symbols used by its ruler, the goddess Hel.
To really get our heads around this realm, let's follow a story. It's about a character who pretty much embodies a life of total comfort, who is about to face a very, very uncomfortable end. Imagine this powerful Jarl loaded with silver and land. He lived a long, full life, but never once saw a day of battle. When his time came, he was expecting glory. He was very wrong.
So, our Jarl doesn't arrive at the shining gates of Valhalla? Nope. He finds himself standing before these dripping, cold, imposing walls. This is Hel's Hall, Eljudnir, which translates to sleet cold. His journey into the allegorical heart of what it means to decay is just about to begin. And the vibe inside, it's one of complete stillness. The air is heavy, and it smells like a freshly dug grave. He's not met by some fierce warrior, but by a servant named Ganglati, or Lazy Walker, a guy who moves so slowly he barely seems to be moving at all. And that's our first big clue. Hel's realm is all about that slow, creeping lethargy that comes right before the end.
But the Jarl, he's not getting it yet. He's still clinging to his earthly status, and he starts demanding a feast. But in this hall, he's about to have a serious reality check, a confrontation with the truth, that his wealth and his power mean absolutely nothing here.
And then she appears. The goddess Hel herself comes down from her throne, and her appearance is just wow. On one side, she's this beautiful, living queen, but on the other, she's a blue-black corpse. She physically is the boundary line, that razor's edge between the world of the living and the realm of the dead.
Unfazed, or maybe just that arrogant, the Jarl actually makes demands. He starts ordering Hel around like she's one of his servants. He's trying to force the rules of his old life onto a place where they just don't apply anymore.
So Hel places a dish in front of him. It's completely empty, but it feels as heavy as lead. She tells him its name is hunger. But here's the crucial part. This isn't physical hunger for food. It's a spiritual emptiness. It's that gnawing memory of all the earthly things he craved, silver, land, power, that now have zero value.
So yeah, hunger isn't about a rumbling stomach. It's a symbol of a life's ambition just turning to dust. It's a powerful, powerful metaphor for getting to the end and realizing your hands and maybe your soul are completely empty.
Enraged, the Jarl grabs the knife next to the plate, maybe to slam it on the table. But it just turns brittle and useless in his hand. Hel calmly explains its name is Sulter, or famine. This knife isn't for feasting. It's for cutting away illusions. It represents the decay that strips away all the excess of a comfortable life.
And that's what Sulter, the famine knife, is all about. It symbolizes that in death, everyone is equal. All that physical abundance you had in life, it means nothing when the body itself just returns to its most basic state. It's a humbling and, honestly, a pretty terrifying idea.
Finally, the horror of his situation clicks. The Jarl does the only thing he can think of. He turns and tries to run. But in his panic, his foot catches on the high threshold of the hall, and he goes down hard. And that simple trip holds a much, much deeper meaning.
As he's lying there on the ground, Hel looms over him. She tells him he's just met the stumbling block. And this isn't just a piece of wood. No, it is the frailty of old age, the weakness from sickness. It's the physical decline that brought him to her door in the first place. He literally cannot outrun his own mortality.
I mean, how brilliant is that?
The stumbling block is the physical reality of aging and sickness, that unsteadiness, the falls, the loss of strength that signals the body is failing. It's a perfect metaphor.
So, he's defeated, broken. The Jarl finally gives up. He's not asking for feasts or for glory anymore. All he wants is rest. But even in this final, simple request, there are more chilling symbols waiting for him.
Hel points him to a bed in the corner, called Kar, the sick bed, and she tells him to draw the curtains, which have this hauntingly beautiful name, Bliknandabil, which means splendid misery. They shimmer with this strange, pale light, but it is definitely not the gleam of gold.
So, what's with that shimmer? It represents the fever dreams, the confusion, the internal pain of a dying person. It's called splendid misery because from the outside, a person on their deathbed might look peaceful, right? But behind that calm facade, there can be this final, intense internal struggle. It's such a deeply perceptive and poignant symbol.
And as the Jarl lies down behind the curtains of splendid misery, he has this moment of clarity. All his earthly cravings, they just vanish. The hunger is gone because he finally accepts his fate, not as a punishment, but just as a return to the natural order of things. He is part of the earth again.
Okay, so the story of the Jarl is way more than just a cool myth. It's a step-by-step allegorical guide to the process of dying, that straw death. So let's break down exactly what these symbols represent in the real physical world.
So you can see the whole system laid out for us. You've got the dish, hungrig, that's spiritual emptiness. The knife, solter, that's physical decay. The threshold, falon de forev, is bodily frailty. And the curtains, blikendobel, represent that hidden internal suffering right at the very end.
And when you map it out, the parable becomes this really clear progression. It starts with the lethargy and loss of function, that's the slow servants. Then it moves to the physical stumbles and weakness of the body, that's the stumbling block, and it all culminates in those final moments of fever and internal struggle, hidden behind the curtains of splendid misery. You know, this ancient culture, they didn't shy away from the harsh realities of the most common way to die. They gave its symptoms and its stages a face, a name, and a story. And it kind of leaves us with a question, doesn't it? In our modern world, where we often try to hide or sanitize death, how do we confront that same universal inevitability?